The rain didn't just fall, it wept, shattering itself against the glass and steel canyon of the city. Liam's world had narrowed to 2 points, the glowing red numbers of the dashboard clock, 9:58 a.m. and the woman crumpled on the slick sidewalk ahead, a splash of crimson against the gray. Her umbrella, a cheap, cheerful yellow, cartwheeled down the gutter like a dying sunflower. His knuckles were white on the steering wheel, his one good suit jacket hanging in the pristine stillness of the passenger seat. The interview of a lifetime. A senior analyst position at the monolithic Ethelred Holdings was in 22 minutes. A lifetime of carefully plotted moves, of late nights and sacrificed weekends, all led to this single, gleaming door, and he was about to kick it shut. Just drive. A cold, logical voice in his head insisted. Someone else will stop. Call an ambulance. You can't afford this. You can't. But his body was already moving, the car door swinging open, the icy rain soaking through his shirt in an instant. He slid to his knees on the wet concrete, his dress pants instantly ruined. Hey, can you hear me? He said, his voice steadier than he felt. She groaned, pushing a curtain of dark, wet hair from her face. Her eyes, a startling shade of sea green, were glazed with pain and shock. One of her hands was cradled protectively against her chest, the heel scraped raw and bleeding. The other clutched a shattered tablet, its screen a spiderweb of cracks. My presentation, she whispered, her gaze fixed on the broken device. It's all on there. Liam almost laughed. A presentation. He was missing his interview for a presentation. Forget the tablet. Are you hurt? Your head? Your neck? I think, just my wrist. And my pride. She tried to sit up, wincing. Liam, don't move. Let me call an ambulance. No ambulance please. I need to get to work. A frantic look entered her eyes. I have a very important meeting. The bitter irony was a physical taste in his mouth. Join the club, he muttered, already pulling out his phone. He dialed the number for Ethelred Holdings, the one he'd memorized weeks ago. The receptionist's voice was crisp. Professional Ethelred Holdings. How may I direct your call? Yes. Hello, my name is Liam Croft. I have a 10:20 interview with Mr. Hemlock for the senior analyst position. There's been an emergency, a medical emergency. I'm going to be unavoidably detained. He could hear the faint, disapproving click of a tongue. I see, Mr. Croft. I'll note your file. Rescheduling will be subject to availability. The line went dead. Liam felt the hope drain from him, leaving a hollow, cold shell. 27 years of striving, wiped out by a single act of chivalry. He looked down at Alara, who was now trying to stand, using his arm for support. Her gratitude was a poor consolation prize. You missed your interview, she asked, her voice small. For me, seems so. He managed a tight smile. Come on, my car's right here. I'll take you to your meeting. It's the least I can do, after costing you your presentation. He helped her into the passenger seat, tossing his pristine suit jacket into the back to make room. She gave him an address. It was the Ethelred Holdings Tower. His heart gave a single, painful thud. Of course, the universe had a truly vicious sense of humor. The ride was quiet, filled only with the rhythm of the wipers and the soft sound of her breathing. He stole glances at her. She was pale, clutching her injured wrist, but there was a fierce determination in her profile. She wasn't just pretty. There was a sharp, intelligent grace to her, even in distress. What's your presentation on? He asked, just to fill the silence. Corporate restructuring and strategic pivots, she said, a ghost of a smile on her lips. Thrilling, I know. He nodded. His own dream job, the one he'd just flushed down the drain, involved exactly that kind of analysis. They were probably supposed to be colleagues. The thought was a fresh twist of the knife. He pulled up to the soaring glass tower. Here you are. Good luck with your meeting. Thank you, Liam, for everything. I'm so sorry about your interview. She looked like she wanted to say more, but instead, she just gave him a final, grateful look, clutched her broken tablet, and disappeared through the revolving doors. Liam sat there for a long time, the rain pooling on his windshield, blurring the world into an impressionist painting of his own failure. Hours later, sitting in his tiny apartment with a lukewarm beer, in the grim certainty of unemployment, his phone buzzed. It was an unknown number with a familiar area code. Hope, that treacherous weed, sprouted in his chest. Maybe Mr. Hemlock had reconsidered. Maybe the receptionist had felt a pang of guilt. Liam Croft, a woman's voice asked. It was familiar, but layered with a new, steely authority. Speaking. This is Alara Vance. We met this morning. The beer bottle froze halfway to his lips. Alara, are you okay? Is your wrist? I'm fine. Thank you. The reason for my call is that your name came across my desk this afternoon. In connection with a missed interview for the senior analyst position, Liam's world tilted again. Her desk. Your desk. I don't understand. The meeting I was rushing to this morning, she said, her voice calm, measured. It wasn't a meeting. It was the board meeting to confirm my appointment as the new CEO of Ethelred Holdings. The air left his lungs in a rush. The cheap yellow umbrella, the broken tablet, the frantic worry about a presentation. He had pictured her as a junior executive, a fellow striver. Not that. The new CEO. The story he'd read about the old CEO's sudden retirement and the mysterious external successor chosen by the board flashed in his mind. Her name had been withheld. Ilara Vance. I see, was all he could manage. I've reviewed your file. Liam, it's impressive, but corporate policy is strict. A no-show for a final interview, barring a documented hospital stay, results in automatic disqualification. The tiny sprout of hope withered and died, right? Of course, I understand. There was a pause on the line. He could hear the soft rustle of paper, the quiet power of her new office. Policy, however, doesn't account for character, she continued, her voice softening almost imperceptibly. And it certainly doesn't account for a man who would sacrifice his dream to kneel in the rain for a stranger. He couldn't speak. He just listened, his heart hammering against his ribs. The senior analyst position is filled, she said, and the finality of the words was a physical blow. But my former role, the head of strategic development, it's now vacant. It requires not just a brilliant mind, but a certain moral compass, an understanding that people, not just projections, are the core of any business. I believe you demonstrated that today. Liam was glad he was sitting down. Head of strategic development. It was to pay grades above the job he'd applied for. It was a role people fought for decades. He stammered. The formal offer letter will be in your inbox within the hour, Ilara said, her tone shifting back to that of a CEO. The salary and benefits are, I assure you, commensurate with the responsibility. We expect you to start on Monday. Thank you, he breathed, a dizzying cocktail of shock, relief, and sheer disbelief flooding his system. Ilara? Ms. Vance. I don't know what to say. Say you'll accept, she replied, a hint of the woman from the sidewalk returning to her voice. And perhaps, that you'll join me for dinner tomorrow night, to discuss your first strategic initiative, and to properly return your suit jacket. It's still in your back seat. A slow smile spread across Liam's face, cutting through the exhaustion and the heartbreak of the morning. The twist was more than he could have ever imagined. He hadn't just gotten a job, he had been seen, truly seen, in a way no resume or interview could ever accomplish. I'll be there, he said. But as the call ended, his smile faltered. He replayed her words, the cool, precise cadence of a master strategist. The board meeting to confirm my appointment. She knew who she was that morning. She knew the power she wielded. His eyes drifted to the passenger seat where she had sat, pale and vulnerable. He remembered the frantic look in her sea-green eyes. I have a very important meeting. He had assumed it was a presentation she was giving, not a coronation she was attending. He thought of the shattered tablet, the lost presentation. A cold, sickening realization began to dawn. What if the accident wasn't just an accident? What if the vulnerability was a test? A final, ruthless assessment of character for a role that required absolute loyalty, for a plan she had not yet unveiled. He was her savior, yes, but as he looked out at the weeping city, a chilling question settled in his soul. One that would haunt him long after the champagne toasts and the celebratory dinner. What had he really just signed up for?